Okay, so we're going to have 2 more sections before we have a test over the things with circles. So be sure if you have not got those things completed and turned in that you send me questions and let's get those done so we can get our test. You do need to make sure you're completing your assignment so that you can get credit for this 6 weeks. So let's go over a few of these. I'm going to do some of the odd numbers on the notes, and then you've got the ones you can look up that I'll have posted, and you can let me know if you have questions. So first of all, up here at the top, what it says here is that if 2 secants or chords intersect inside a circle, then the measure is equal to half the sum of the measures of the intercepted arcs. So we're going to actually do 2 things. One's going to either be inside or outside. So the key here is that if these things intersect inside the circle, if I look at the measure of angle 1, measure of angle 1 is going to be the sum of these 2 arcs divided by 2. So we have 1/2 the measure of AD plus measure of BC. Okay. If I was looking for measure of angle 2, I'm looking at these 2 arcs. Okay, so it's the arcs that are intercepted by those angles on between the lines. So this one's going to be 1/2 measure of AB plus the measure of CD. So let's look at a couple of examples here. Be really careful that you're finding the angle or the arc that you're being asked for. Some of you are finding parts of your problems, but you're not finding all of them. So be sure you're finding what it's actually asked for. One thing you could do with that is either highlight it with a certain color or circle it or something. So I'm looking for AED. So I'm wanting to know that angle that's right there. Well, since that one's right there, it intercepts with these 2 arcs. So we've got 1/2 45 plus 109, which is 1/2 of 154, which gives you 77. So this is the measure of angle AED. That one that's right there is 77. Okay, so if we look at number 3, we're looking for YWX. So follow your letters. YWX. So this is the angle that I'm actually looking for, is this one right here. So this is going to be a 2-step process. So first, I need to find out this one, because if I find out this one, that's on a straight line, and I can subtract from 180. So the first thing we want to do is to say 1/2 of 43 plus 81 is 1/2 of 124, which is 62. Now 62 is not your answer though. 62 is this angle. So you got to be careful. We want this angle. So second, we need to say 180 because that's a straight line. 180 minus 62 is 118. That's the measure of the angle. That's the measure of the angle that we're looking for. So be sure that you're finding the angle that they're asking you for, not just do one step and then you're done. Okay, you need to be sure you're reading directions. But anytime it's intersecting inside the circle, we're adding the 2 arcs and finding it. Okay, and number 5 gives us an angle on the inside, and we're looking for the arc. So notice, this little thing means the arc here. So we're looking for CDE out here. Well, look at what's opposite. So if we let this be X, that's what we're looking for. We're already given the angle. Here's our formula. Our angle, 128, is equal to 1/2 the sum of our arcs. Okay, so there's our formula if we're given our angle. Angle is 1/2 the sum of our arcs. Okay, you can Make this a little bit easier by remembering that the opposite of multiplication is division, and opposite of division is multiplication. So if I multiply both sides by 2, that cancels out. End up with 256 equals 73 plus x. Subtract your 73, and we get 183 for the measure of angle CDE, the arc. So anytime it intersects inside the circle, then we're going to add the two arcs, divide by 2. Okay, notice it says on the circle. So if it's on the circle, it's simply half of that one arc. So the measure of angle 1 is simply going to be 1/2 the measure of AB. Measure angle 2 is this one that's out here. So this one is 1/2 the measure of ACB. Notice I went 3 letters here, 2 letters here, because this one is your major arc and this one is a minor arc. Short one, long one. Okay, so let's look at these. If I want to look at DEG, okay, so I want to know this one right here. It's simply going to be 1/2 of 308, which is 154. That's the angle that we're looking for, is 154. So that's not very hard. This one wants to know DBC. So if I'm wanting DBC, this is the arc it comes from. Well, notice it doesn't give us that arc. So the first thing we need to do is we know all the way around is 360. So if I say 360 minus 192, I get 168. Now I can take half. That gives me my angle. But I can't just say 1/2 of 192 because that's not the one they're asking for. They're asking for this one. Follow your letters. Okay, number 9 gives us the arc. Notice it's a minor arc, so it's the short one. So I'm looking for this is what I actually want. Notice I don't have this arc or this angle. I have this angle. So what we want to do first is say 151 times 2 gives me the arc. So this is 302. Again, we know all the way around is 360. So 360 minus 302 gives you 58, which is the arc that you're looking for. If it had asked for the angle, then I would divide 58 by 2, but it asked for the arc, so I simply found the major arc and subtracted from 360 to find the minor arc. Okay, so let's look at the other situation. The other situation is, what if it intersects outside of it? It looks like there's 3 different situations as far as the pictures are concerned. The key is this. I could have 2 secants, which means they go through the sides of the circle. I can have a secant and a tangent, where this one is the secant. This one is the tangent, because remember, tangent means it touches. Or I could have a situation where there's 2 tangents and they both touch. But the key is it doesn't matter because all of them are half of the difference. Remember, the other page said that if it was inside, we added. If it's outside, we subtract. So this is simply going to be 1/2 this one minus this one. The big one minus the small one. So we have the measure of CE minus the measure of BD. Same thing here. Big one minus the small one. 1/2 measure of BD minus measure of BC. And 1/2. Remember, this one's all the way around. They're both BC, so I'm going to take 3 letters. Measure of BDC minus the measure of BC. So if it's outside, this is the key. Outside is difference. We're going to subtract. Okay, so again, be sure you know what you're looking for. If I want KLM, I'm looking for that right there. So my intercepted arcs are going to be these two. So I want to have 1/2 of the big one minus the small one, which is 1/2 of 74, which gives you 37. That's the measure of KLM. If it doesn't give you the arc, like on number 11, then if you're given this one and you're given this one, subtract it from 360 and it gives you the 210. Then we can say that if we're wanting this angle, we simply have 1/2 of 210 minus 62, the large one minus the small one, which is 1/2 of 148, which gives you 74. So remember, all the way around is 360. So if there's one that you're missing, you can subtract to find that arc before you continue. Okay, number 12 is like that because they want to know PQR right there. I'm given 313, but I don't know what that one is. Remember, these are two tangents, both of them right here. So if I simply say 360 minus 313, I get 47. This is the arc. So I get 47. So now I can do my formula. 1/2 313 minus 47 is 1/2 of 266, which is 133. That's the measure of PQR. Just a note on this one, you can do your subtraction and find it, but this is through the diameter right here. So if this is through the diameter, you know that this one has to be 180 degrees. Okay. Okay, so number 14. We are given the angle here and one arc, but they want to know what is SW. This is the one that we're looking for. So think about our formula here. The angle, which is 40, is equal to 1/2 the difference of the arcs. Well, this one, if we let it be X, this is the big one. So X minus the small one, 75. So we were given an angle, so I have to have the angle is equal to 1/2 the difference of my arcs. Opposite of 1/2 is 2 or 2 over 1. So if I multiply by 2 on both sides, that cancels out. We get 80 equals X minus 75. Add your X to both sides, we get 155. So that means that's the big arc right there is 155. Okay, the last one I'm going to do here is similar to that. Again, it's just the smaller one is your X this time. So if they want to know what is MK, let that be your X. It's still outside, so I'm going to subtract. I'm given my angle. So my angle of 56 equals 1/2 of 160 minus X. Multiply by your 2. Anytime you have a fraction, if you multiply by the reciprocal, like flip it over, then you can cancel that out. And since it's an equation, if you do it on both sides, then it makes it easier. So this gives us 112 equals 160 minus X. You could move this either way if you wanted to. Just be careful that that's a negative. So if you subtract 160 from both sides, you end up with negative 48 equals negative x. You can't have a negative angle or degree or arc, so that should remind you right there that you have to divide by negative 1. So my x equals 48, and that's the measure of MK. So I hope that helps. I will be having a geometry tutorial meeting on Wednesday at 3 o'clock like we did last week to go over any problems on the homework. So if you can join us for that, then please do. If not, you can check out the video later. You guys have a great day.